Hey, you. Yeah, it's Ian and Cary. Hey, before we get into things, we're jumping in again. We had pre-recorded these episodes, but from time to time we like to check in and want to thank everybody for supporting Last Stop Penn Station. This is going to be episode 8, Cary. I can't believe we're at 8 already.
And I just want to say, in honor of the camel, how are you?
I still think the camel might have been Bela Lugosi.
We have a lot of Bela Lugosi's, but we also have, yes, and thank you, everybody. We've been overwhelmed, and we appreciate it. It's really cool. It's gratifying. This is just I don't know if you want to call it a vanity project. It's just something that, we wanted to do, and I wanted to do. And thanks to Ian and thanks to AJ, we're getting this done. And we have some merch. There's been a tremendous outcry for merchandise.
Yeah, we have the wonderful Hail the Camel, He Eats Breakfast t-shirt, prowrestlingtees.com. Search for Last Stop Penn Station. It was up there. It's up there with our friends from AEW. It was one of the top sellers with Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
so that was pretty neat.
That's right. And of course, the Last Stop Penn Station logo shirt. There's a few varieties of them. So if you'd like to get one, we'd be happy to see you sporting one of these. And we're going to finish up my adventure in Puerto Rico. There'll be more in future episodes, but we're going to finish up the pretty much what the wind up.
The wind up, and in the 50s and 60s, the wind up was the main event of a wrestling card. Right. So we thank you for listening to the previous 2 episodes. This is the thrilling grand finale of Cary's adventures in Puerto Rico. We invite you to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. We're up into the 50s.
We're trying to march to 75. Maybe we'll be there by the time this comes out.
And when we get to 75, we're going to release Cary's time at Empire Industries.
With Belly Mel.
With Belly Mel. So that's a story you don't want to miss. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you at the end of the episode.
Welcome, one and all, to Last Stop Penn Station podcast featuring Cary Silkin and Ian Riccaboni. They dive deep into Cary's wealth of stories, and no subject is off limits. From the world of wrestling to his ticket agency, growing up in New Jersey, drug-fueled underground days, hustling in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and endless days and nights in New York City, every story is worth telling.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 8 of Last Stop Penn Station. I'm your host, Ian Riccaboni, joined by the guest of honor, Cary Silkin. Cary, it is time to talk about the worst.
Before we do that, I must ask you, how are you?
I can't tell if that's...
Can you help me?
I don't know.
Can you help me do this podcast, please?
I don't know if that's Bela Lugosi, the camel, or
Mama Pretzel.
Mama Pretzel. They've all blended.
It's the camel.
It's the camel.
How are you?
Well, we're having a lot of fun, and I'm doing well. How about you, Cary?
I'm doing good, and we are having a lot of fun. And before we started rolling, I was telling Ian and our producer, AJ, how much I appreciate and how much I'm enjoying doing this project. It's a lot of fun getting these stories out. The camaraderie of us getting together is a blast, and hopefully some people will enjoy it and rate us, review us.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot on our social media. We haven't necessarily said it in the episodes, but we have some incentives for rating, reviewing. We got some bonus content of some of Cary's favorite stories, including my favorite story, Empire Industries, which we've set some goals for, and there's going to be other things as well. Where if you rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, if we get 5-star reviews, we're gonna roll out those bonus episodes, which don't quite fit into the categories of places, people, or things.
Yeah, everybody will want to hear the story when I was desperate for a job and pre-full-time ticket scalping, and I'd had some experience with sales and these telephone rooms, newspaper sales that were relatively legitimate. And I don't know if there's a movie called Boiler Room.
Yes.
And a boiler, which with Danny DeVito's in it. But and they also had door-to-door canvassing experience for some. There's another movie called Tin Men. Oh, okay. Which is about the aluminum siding industry. But so I had some sales experience, which led me to Empire Industries, the leader, the leader in the all-purpose cleaner degreaser, and. We're going to tell you more about that on our bonus episode. Absolutely. And that's we'll have some incentives. Follow us at Last Stop Penn Station to get all the details. But I'll tell you what, the way to get there is to leave 5-star reviews on iTunes. And Cary, we talked about the worst, and I'm gonna bring us back to our last episode where, not only did we talk about the one last shot to meet with Victor Quiñones, but also, I can't even say his name, Pig Face Stanley, well, Pig Face Stanley and his little sons, the baboon, little Scotty, which are the worst, and we're going to try to get to them. But I'm in bubbling to finish
this anticipation,
this business. The magazine Lucha Libre de Puerto Rico could have kept going. We had one of the 3 pieces of the puzzle was working really well. There was actually 4 pieces of the puzzle if you include advertising. Mm-hmm. And which Buttman just to remind, I'm getting us back on track, reminding everybody that Buttman was an advertiser, right? The Buttman and the tattoo places and the little restaurant that advertised with us, but. It's hard. Palermo was a miracle that Palermo was able to get these people, but he did. But they were small, just little fees. We didn't charge a lot of money, and so we had. But the magazine sales on the newsstands were fabulous. Issue 3 was a record sales. There was no chance with Jovica and Cologne and the WWC after we got thrown out. Mike G almost got us killed the next time, bringing up the things you shouldn't talk about in Puerto Rico regarding Bruiser Brody. So, and thank goodness for Kurt Hennig, who really set everybody on the right track there in the locker room. Yeah, that's for sure. So, by the way, after that happened, and we're going to get to this meeting with Victor Quiñones. After that happened, they did, I don't know if welcome is the right word, but we were allowed back, and we went to another show. There's no real story of any great gravitas, but they wouldn't sell the magazines there for us. And they used to draw very well. They had a connection. Both companies had connections with, all the years Cologne was around and Jovica. There were certain guys like Abdullah, certain WWE guys that would work with them. But Quiñones, and I'm surprised you didn't bring this up with all your great knowledge of pro wrestling, but the IWA, Victor Quiñones company, our friendly neighbor, right. they were an OVW type company. They were a minor league for a while
in the WWE,
right? Yeah. In the late '90s, so the WWE would send guys because they were basically. This is an important fact for you kids and anyone else, people that are older know this. This was basically the last territory left that was running 4 nights a week. Right. And two of them, two companies on this relatively small island. So they had their tie-ins and they would get talent. Certain people preferred to go down there. They used to like to bring in legends, like they bring in Gangrel. Yeah, who's still a wonderful pro wrestler. Right. In 2020. But let's talk about this. So we had the magazine selling well. The advertising was men's. Okay. And the WWC, the Jovica and Cologne was just going to be a zero. We're never going to be able to make money with them, or they make money with us.
Mm-hmm.
But Quiñones and the IWA business was good. This was also around the time that TNA was starting.
Right.
And Ring of Honor was
right.
in
Ring
action.
of Honor was featured in the first issue.
Was in the first issue, and Ring of Honor was moving along.
Mm-hmm.
There might have been a crossover period where I was involved when I first got involved with ROH, but we'll circle back to that eventually.
And I believe Apollo from the magazine covers was featured heavily in TNA as well.
Right, and as we in Ring of Honor, when I was there, we brought up Flash Flanagan,
right,
and there's a guy they call it. He went under the name Chicano.
Okay.
They came up, wrestled at Rexplex one time, so there was a small crossover. But so we needed the IWA to help us. It was just a handout.
Yeah.
All they had to do was take these magazines and sell them. And talk about a blow to the heart. Talk about a mind blower and a heartbreaker. They had their big show. One of their big shows, this is preceding our meeting, was Three Kings Weekend, which has just passed after the first of the year. It's a huge holiday in Puerto Rico. So they're running an outdoor stadium show. 8,000, 9,000 people. I think Jeff Jarrett was there as a guest. And I go to the show. Issue 3 had been out, and we're going to be working on issue 4. And what happens when I go to the show? I see hundreds of people all carrying around issue 3.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
These guys are finally selling it. Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They were handing them out as a Christmas present. That's right. That's right. And these are our, once again, this might sound confusing to people, but these are our friendly, this is the friendly company. So the 3,000 or 4,000 issues, it was a 10,000 issue run.
Yeah. 5,000
went to the newsstands. We must have given them probably 3,000, if maybe 4,000. What am I going to do with these things?
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to honor their fans with a Christmas gift.
Get down on Lucha Libre de Puerto Rico.
Right. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So that was shitty. And that when I saw that, I'm like, this isn't going to work. We have to call this emergency meeting.
Was that the moment that was that the first moment you felt that it's done? This is it? Or did you still have a little bit of hope going into the emergency meeting?
Well, when I saw them giving away the magazines, I go, this ain't the way it's supposed to be. Okay. It's not theirs to give away.
Sure.
First of all, if they don't sell them, or it's one thing, but
right.
And I politely asked Quiñones prior to the meeting about this, and he's like, "Oh, but they were, those were already out for a few months, Cary." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, whatever, Victor."
Yeah.
So we call an emergency meeting, and the premise of the meeting is for myself and Mike G to sit down with Victor Quiñones and discuss, like businessmen, like, why can't you sell the damn thing?
Right.
If people want it. It's good. We're featuring your company. All you're going to make some money, all the obvious things. It's good for us also. So he agreed to the meeting, and the meeting was going to take place. It was during the week, and it was set for like a 7 p.m. dinner meeting.
Okay. There
was this Japanese sushi type restaurant that Victor liked in Isla Verde, where their office and where Victor lived, and it's a really nice tourist area. So what happened was, it's a 7 p.m. meeting. So we're on the beach. It's a beautiful day. It's in January. It's 85 degrees. We're hanging out, and I see I'm getting a phone call, and it's Quiñones. And it was like 1:32 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I answer it, and I'm like, hello? He says, the time has come.
Wow, like Lucy.
Right.
Like Lucy, she's ready to have the baby. The time has come.
I'm like, hey, Victor, we'll see you tonight at 7.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, no, the time has come.
Oh.
Now, he spoke English, Spanish, and Japanese. He didn't really speak with an accent.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, Victor, yeah, we're going to meet you at 7 o'clock at the sushi place. And he's like, no, 4 p.m.
Wow.
The time has come. I'm like, well, where do you... He goes, come to my office. Now,
ooh, okay.
What his office, where in Isla Verde, in this very nice condo building, Victor owned 2 condos. One was on the 2nd floor, which was where they mixed edited the shows. They had 4 hours of TV.
Wow.
2 hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday.
Ooh.
So they, on the 2nd floor, which was your basic condo, they converted it into a TV studio, and the bedroom areas were used by the office staff. Savio Vega would be there.
Okay.
Bushwhacker Luke, Dutch. There was another guy, Moody Jack, who he did some work. He's done a lot of work in Mexico and TNA. Okay. He was a graphics guy and I believe an editor. And their announcers whose names I forget, but these guys would be around. And then on the 6th floor, Victor had his own apartment. So after that phone call, and he basically hung up on us after when he said,
so it was kind of an ominous
the time has come. Click. I'm like, what? So I tell Mike, he's like, I thought we're meeting him at 7. I go, look, the guy wants to meet us at 4. So I know what I'll do. I'll call Bushwhacker Luke. Okay. Because at this point, I had developed a friendship with him. So I called Luke up and I said, hey, Luke, Victor called us. We're supposed to meet him at 7 o'clock tonight. He wants us to come over now. He goes, mate, don't go there.
Wow.
He's messed up. I'm like, we got to go there.
Yeah.
There's no alternative. He goes, mate, don't go there. So I'm like, Luke, will you meet us there? He goes, well, I'm running around, mate, but I can meet you there. Yeah. I can meet you later, but I'm telling you shouldn't go.
Wow.
I go, I gotta go. I have to go.
Yeah.
So we went.
Okay. What was Luke fearing? Do you know what was going through his mind? Do you think that he was afraid he was going to set you up? Or
no. Okay. Luke knew. It's what do they say? Don't speak ill about the dead. Or
sure.
Victor Quiñones passed away a number of years ago.
Wasn't in a good spot.
He was. He had some serious issues with substances.
Okay.
And everyone knew he was gay also, although he was a masculine kind of guy. Not that really played into it.
Sure.
And there's a story. You could ask Steve.
And if you go to 2003, January,
yes.
I think about how far we've come with gender identity, with sexual orientation. Being gay in 2003 is a lot different than it is in 2020. Especially for somebody who's experienced sort of the stigma their whole life. So I imagine that had to play into it.
But Victor didn't give a damn.
Okay.
He didn't care.
Yeah.
He did whatever he wanted to do. He was like a king down there.
Wow.
And he inherited a lot of money from his parents that owned they owned a big hotel, and they passed this money on to him. And I mentioned this to AJ before you came here, how he parlayed this into making money in the wrestling business, which we know is a very difficult thing to do.
Absolutely.
And going to Japan and opening a company in Japan. But he did. So he was a bright guy, but as they like to say, he had his demons. Anyway, off we go to our 4 o'clock meeting, and we parked the car. And it was like a gated thing where you had to announce, and it was a very busy condo with very well-to-do people. You had to have money to live there.
Yeah.
Nice, very nice families. There was another couple of businesses that were, offices that were converted, maybe some dentists or doctors that were in there, but anyone in there was respectable, except Victor. So we go there and we're meeting him on the second floor, which is where the, which is where the studio is.
Okay.
And we get there right on time and they're mixing the TV show. Mm-hmm. And I know these guys, these editors, and they're like, hey, what's up? We're like, well, we're here to meet Victor. And they're like, oh, yeah, he's been in and out, you know. It's all right. So we're just sort of sitting there, watching them editing the show. And Savio wasn't there. I called Luke again. Mm-hmm. He's like, mate, why'd you go? Why'd you go? I'm like, we had to go.
Yeah.
So I said, come on, please come over. He's like, I'll get there. So I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting the worst. I mean, right. You know, Luke's a solid guy, and he's just warning us, just don't go. There's going to be something wrong. Well, he was right. All of a sudden, the door busts open at about approximately 4:30. Now, Quiñones, he was maybe your height. And
about 6 foot.
He was about maybe a little less. And he was probably 75 pounds overweight.
Okay.
And he was a big guy. And I knew about his drinking. I knew about use of some other, you know, narcotics. But one thing that I didn't link up with him because it wasn't associated with him. He wasn't a marijuana smoker.
Okay.
But when he walked into the apartment, here comes this guy with a giant beach towel around his waist with it tied. He's got a T-shirt on, like I love Puerto Rico T-shirt.
Okay. And he kind of looks like Jimmy Garvin at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's got one of those Sherlock Holmes style pipes. And it's
plumes of smoke
of weed. And he comes in and he starts screaming in Spanish to these guys that are editing. Mm-hmm. And they're just sort of looking at him. And I'm like, hey, how you doing, Victor? And Mike G. See, I'm used to these kind of characters.
Sure.
I'm used to the bizarre. I'm used to, you know, not proud of it, but, you know, I've been in crack houses in bad neighborhoods. I've been in after hours clubs at 11 in the morning where people are telling you, we better leave because we're the only people here that have money. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm used to these oddball characters.
Yeah.
I'd lived through the streets. I'd lived through my ticket hustling with all these nut jobs. So I could process this. So after Victor yells at the editors, he says to us, let's go upstairs. Ooh. The time has come. So Mike G is just looking like, what the fuck is this?
It's got to be looking like
he's not used to this scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just don't. I'm giving him the hand. Just chill out. So now we walk out of the apartment. We're moseying down to the elevator, and he's smoking the pipe. And here comes a lady with her 2 school children, probably 9 and 11 years old, 2 little girls, and she just looks at him like, oh, Lord, yeah, oh. And he could care less. And we go to the elevator, and we hit the up button. He was on the 6th floor, and the elevator opens up, and there's a grandmother type woman, and she's got a little kid, and they're just looking, oh, what is this man doing? And, you know, then a guy comes out of the doctor's office. Might have been the doctor who's dressed in a suit, and you know he just gives Victor a dirty look. You know, you're stinking up this nice building with weed. You know, smoke it in your apartment. Yeah. Up we go to the 6th floor. So we get up there. The door was open, and did
that give you a red flag? Because that anytime a door's open in a hotel or an apartment complex.
Yeah, I guess it was better than Victor losing his keys.
Okay.
So
I mean, that's quite a jump, but yeah.
So we go into his apartment, which was a sort of nicely furnished condo, nice balcony, looking out. There's the ocean.
Wow.
And there's 2 couches that were facing each other with a coffee table in between.
Okay.
So Mike's on one side and I'm on the other. And Victor says to us once again, he first says, "Oh, do you want a beer?" I'm like, no, thank. Mike's like, no. He goes, "I'm going to get cleaned up. The time has come." So he goes to the bedroom area, and Mike's looking at me, and I'm just shrugging my shoulders.
Right.
Look, we got to deal with this.
Yeah.
So I call Luke again, and Luke says, "I'm going to meet you at the restaurant."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I said, "Please come here. Please come here." So all of a sudden the door opens again. It's not Victor. He's in the bathroom. We could hear the shower going.
Right.
Well, there was
Wait, hold on. He stopped to take a shower in the middle of the business meeting?
Well, no. This was not the business meeting.
Okay.
He was preparing to freshen up.
Okay.
To go out to the dinner.
The 3
where
hours.
the business meeting was going to take place.
But I don't invite. We've gone out to dinner. I don't invite you to come over and take a shower.
He was out of his mind.
Okay.
So the door opens up, and it's this Japanese wrestler whose name I forget, and it was not a name that we would know.
Okay.
That Victor was giving a shot to.
Mm-hmm.
And he says hello, and we say hello. And he's sort of tidying up in the kitchen. And all of a sudden, Victor comes out of the shower. You hear the shower go off,
Mm-hmm.
and Victor comes out of the shower area. And he's got that big now he's got no shirt on.
No, I love Puerto Rico shirt.
No, I love Puerto Rico. But he's got the big towel.
Okay.
And that's wrapped around his midsection.
I feel like the towel's the sword of Damocles at this point, where something's got to happen with the towel.
You might be onto something. So he starts screaming in Japanese at this poor man. What was he screaming? I know what he was screaming. "Get me a damn beer." Because the guy went immediately to the refrigerator,
Yeah.
and ran over and gave him a beer.
But didn't he just have a beer?
Well, he was having.
What, did he have a beer in the shower?
He left. He finished it.
Oh my goodness! This poor man.
He finished it in the shower in the bedroom.
Oh my goodness! This poor man.
So then he starts screaming at the Japanese wrestler again.
Mm-hmm.
I understood perfectly. No, I didn't, but I saw what happened. What he was yelling at him was, "Give me a goddamn massage now."
Oh.
And so the Japanese wrestler is going over to his shoulders.
And this is a large man.
Right. And he's rubbing his, the classic shoulder rub style. And Victor's guzzling the beer.
Like a king.
He's screaming in Japanese, like angry. And the guy's being subservient.
Mm-hmm.
So he sort of settles down for a moment. This is sort of happening in rapid period of time. And he yells something in Japanese for the guy to go do something. And he turns towards us. And as he turns towards us, holding the beer in one hand and his other hand on the towel, keeping it, it wasn't tied.
Yeah. Oh.
Right?
Okay.
Well, all of a sudden, the towel goes.
Oh.
Was it done intentionally? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But regardless of of somebody's, at least for me, regardless of someone's sexual preferences, to just see someone naked and who's really not that attractive at all,
and in a bad state, you got to have a good read by this point that he's not.
He's in a bad state.
Yeah.
And he was overweight, and where we were sitting at the couch, we're like in perfect.
Oh my goodness! Yes, I hadn't even considered that.
Perfect waist level.
Wow!
And I'm looking at Mike.
Well, you got to, because you can't look at anything else.
Mike's like, giving me the oh my god. Well, it probably was 5 seconds, but it seemed like an eternity till Victor screamed at the Japanese guy, "Pick the damn towel up."
Wow.
And he got it back on.
Jeez.
So he says it once again. The first time he spoke English again, he says, "The time has come." What? And he goes back in to get dressed. Well, good news. I have good news here.
Finally, thankfully.
Luke comes in.
Oh, thank God for Luke.
Luke comes in. And Victor comes back out a number of minutes later, and he's dressed. And I'm like, Luke, because Luke's like, Mike, I told you guys not to come. He's like laughing laughing at us. And Luke and Victor go way back.
Sure, because Luke wrestled there in the late 60s, early 70s.
And he booked for them in the 80s, when Victor basically was a kid. But they go way back. And so Victor comes out, and he's dressed, and he starts goofing around with Luke. And Luke's feeding into his, how can we say it? He's just letting Victor say what he wants, placating him.
Sure.
And I'm like, all right, good. We're all going to go out to dinner. This is great.
And you're trying to move the train along.
And Luke's like, I'll meet you at the restaurant.
Oh.
Well, if this isn't bad enough, it gets worse. Now we have to go to the restaurant, and it was in the area. So where this apartment, this is important to the story, where this apartment was, coming out of the garage, if you made a left turn, the apartment was, the sushi place was about a mile and a half just down the main road that goes along, like Ocean Avenue, we'll call it.
Okay.
So we had our car, me and Mike, and the Japanese wrestler was going to drive because Victor was in no condition to drive. So he's like, the time has come. Follow us. So, hey, Lamb Chop. So,
that's a cameo by the great Lamb Chop.
Yes, my little cat Lamb Chop. So we get in the car, and Mike's freaking out.
Yeah.
This is the first time he goes, look at this guy. How are we going to deal with him? I'm like, look, we're just got to put up with it. He'll have some food. Yeah. He'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I'm calling Luke. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to meet you at the restaurant. I told you. I go, all right. I said, I wish you would have came with us. Anyway, they get in their car. We're right behind them. Once again, the restaurant is just a mere left, one mere left turn,
sure,
and straight ahead. Well, which way do they turn?
No.
To the right.
Oh.
So I'm like, where the hell are they going?
Yeah.
So they turn to the right, and I'm like, Mike G's real bad with directions to start with. One of his nicknames besides Midas is Magellan. But I picked up on this immediately. Yeah. We're going the wrong way.
Right.
Well, quickly, there was an entrance to the highway, which was bringing us basically in the correct direction.
You do a quick figure eight.
But why is he going this way? I'm saying to myself.
Yeah.
Well, he gets off at the first exit in the right direction, which is good. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is strange, though. And where he got off, there was a house where the visiting wrestlers, as well as Luke, as well as Dutch, it was like a cottage with a couple of extra, we'll call them like maids' quarters.
Okay.
And that neighborhood was the exit. I go, maybe he's stopping where the boys stay, mm-hmm. where Luke stays. And it wasn't a bad neighborhood, but adjacent to this road leading off the highway were the projects. Mm-hmm. And there was this very large housing project that was one of the largest projects in Puerto Rico. It was like a mile square.
Wow.
So we're following him. I'm like, where's he going? Well, he pulls on this little side road, and I'm looking, and this guy, and you'll see this a lot in Puerto Rico. We'll have to go down there sometime. This guy had set up a bar, like a cantina, wow. just on the street.
So you see this sometimes in Florida. They'll sell boiled peanuts, or you'll see, but this was straight up alcohol.
Alcohol. Oh yeah. It was an oyster. How could I forget? It was an oyster. It was Peter or Pedro's Oyster Bar. I think
in the middle of public housing.
On the outskirts of the public housing.
Okay.
And it's just set up.
Wow. Okay.
Willy-dilly. So this is where Victor wants to go have some oysters and a few drinks prior to the sushi dinner. And my cousin is freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I'm not drinking. And I said, listen, Mike, just get a goddamn drink with him and just make it nice.
Right.
So it gets worse.
No, it can't. It sounds like you're about to be in hell. There's no way it gets any hotter.
I'm at the bar with the Japanese wrestler who I can't speak a word of English to. So I'm at an oyster bar. What am I going to do? I'll order some oysters, right? When in Rome.
Right. Do what the Romans do.
Victor's drinking. And he's now, you got to remember, and I should have, well, not even to remember, you have to understand or learn, he was a Vince McMahon type character on the IWA show. He was an authority figure.
Sure.
And he was a babyface.
Okay.
Everyone knew him.
Yeah.
Everyone knew him. And the wrestling was the highest rated show. So this was around, by this time, it was about 6 p.m. and people were leaving work, and people from the projects or that lived around there, they would go over to the oyster bar, have some oysters, have a couple of rum and cokes.
Sure.
And I see these kids, like these teenagers or less maybe.
Okay.
And they're all coming up to Quiñones.
Yeah, he's probably a celebrity. He's probably starstruck.
And I see him. He's, he didn't do anything inappropriate, but he's patting the one kid on the head, and I'm like, oh my head is everything I've been through down there. I'm like, oh my God, what if one of these kids' fathers look out the window and they're thinking the wrong thing?
Sure.
I'm just thinking, what
you're thinking the worst at this point because you don't know where this road is leading.
Right. And we were probably at this oyster place close to an hour. It seemed like an eternity. Luke was actually calling me saying, where are you?
Oh, wow.
I'm at the restaurant.
Okay. I'm
like, just wait there. He's got us at some oyster bar. He goes, oh, yeah, that's his friend, mate. Oh, he ain't going to want to get out of there, mate. And, during this time, I don't know what Victor was drinking, but he's just down in shots.
Is he happy or is he getting angry or a little bit in between? He's all over the place.
He's having a good old time.
Okay.
And he's talking to these other guys and everyone knows him and he's a celebrity. Finally, he makes like the king makes a declaration, and it wasn't, he goes, the time has come. Let's go eat.
Wow.
Like, okay, good. So we go to this restaurant and there's Luke and they knew him there.
Okay.
And he is flying. And we go in and he's speaking Spanish he's speaking Spanish to the people that ran the restaurant. And we have this big table. And so it's Mike, myself, the Japanese wrestler, Luke, and Victor, of course. And much to his misfortune, there was a young wrestler, I think his name was Tommy Diablo, that wrestled down there. And he had called Victor, and Victor told this kid he was to come over to the restaurant.
Okay.
So this very nice young wrestler, he joins this. So
did Victor get any red flags on his part that Luke was there? Because
no, okay. He was just oblivious to everything.
Gotcha.
Oblivious to everything. So now I want to order some food, and Luke says, Luke's kicking me under the table. I'm like, what? He goes, let him order, mate. Let him order. I'm like, okay. And Quiñones is down like the end, like the king. So he's ordering, he's barking out these orders. Well, all of a sudden, to the table, they bring out these big trays with salad with sashimi on it.
Oh, wow.
Very nice, right?
Yeah.
Which you're supposed to take some off and put on your little plate and then eat this. And it's a nice little appetizer.
Sure.
So I start doing that. So there were two of these big platters.
It sounds like Jimmy's Seafood, where they take care of us. Right. They bring out these huge plates.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Well, the platter near Victor, what does he do? He didn't take out a fork. He did not take out chopsticks. He picked the plate up and held it up to his
No.
and
He's funneling. Cary's making a funneling motion from this
and with his
round
hand,
plate.
he's got salad and hunks of sashimi cascading into his
Oh
mouth.
my goodness! And I'm assuming half of it, at least half, ended up on the floor on him. Or had he perfected this?
No. Well, he'd also ordered another round of drinks for himself.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, it was like a switch was flipped, but it wasn't a good. I guess it was a good switch. The switch was Victor realized how messed up he was.
Okay.
And I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Now, not one word was uttered about business, the magazine.
Wow.
Nothing. And he and the Japanese wrestler basically just walked out.
Oh, no.
And leaving me, Tommy Diablo, Bushwhacker Luke, and my cousin there to eat and pay for everything.
Wow.
Whatever. No big deal.
Yeah.
So we had our meal, and that's when I really one good thing that came from that meeting was it cemented my relationship with Bushwhacker Luke, who to this day people don't speak on the phone anymore much.
We FaceTimed with him,
right? And I spoke to him before we did this today, but after that was over, and Tommy Diablo left, Luke basically told us the birds and the bees of Puerto Rico, and which I touched on the last episode, that if you're not part of the family, let's just say, they're not gonna go out of their way for you. And besides Victor's other failings, and I've been that guy all messed up like that. So it's not like I'm, so I have empathy for it, but you can't do business, So Luke was just telling us, look at this guy. And I told you not to come. And I was saying, well, Luke, how do you do business?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've known him for 20 years, but
yeah.
But for an outsider to come in, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And when that happened, we put out, the fourth edition was sort of in progress.
Yeah, so
and
just made sure that was complete.
That was it.
Yeah.
We called it a day.
Well, it wouldn't be soon before long that you'd be at least a silent partner in Ring of Honor, and then eventually the sole owner. But let's wrap it up. In terms of Victor Quiñones, I'd hate to end on a sour note. What's your fondest memory of Victor Quiñones?
Well, when he was on, and he was, not under the weather.
Sure.
He was a nice guy. Yeah. And, he was, as we touched on earlier, he was a brilliant guy to be able to, my fondest.
Yeah. Is it something we can tell on the podcast?
No, I don't know if he was, he was okay, but,
sure.
There was just so much baggage in the way that, He gave us an opportunity to start with. It didn't pan out. It didn't come through, but I think his heart was in the right place.
Sure. When we started this episode, we called it The Worst. And I can't imagine the anxiety and the fear that you had at every step of the way in that final meeting. But I also can't imagine some of the dread and gruff that you may have had with Pig Face Stanley and his son, the baboon.
The worst.
The worst. That's the theme today.
They weren't dangerous. They weren't treacherous. They couldn't cause you, when I say the worst, it's not because they would cause you bodily harm, but you just couldn't make any money with these guys. And they were very tough to deal with. And you gotta get an idea of what these guys look like. These are the kind of, I was bar mitzvahed. I've brought up Jewish. I argue with my cousin. Is that a religion or is that a nationality? But that's another subject. But Pig Face Stanley was the kind of guy that would give Jews a bad name.
Oh, no.
And I know some people that years before I got the displeasure of meeting him, one of my ticket broker went on to be a ticket broker friend, told me that when he was growing up in Brooklyn, we're talking about the early 60s, he was in the same neighborhood as Stanley. And he said, one day I get off the train coming home from school, and Stanley lived like in the next apartment building over. And I see this guy, big fat guy, hanging out the third floor window, like holding on to the ledge. And it was the summertime. And my friend Richie looks up and goes, Jesus Christ, that's Stanley. So what was he doing?
Yeah.
Well, Richie says, at first, I was a little kid. I didn't know why is he doing that?
Sure.
Well, then he heard. He was able to, the landlord was knocking on the door. Stanley, where the hell's the goddamn rent?
Oh.
Winnie, open the door. I want the rent. Right? So Stanley's
He's escaping.
Alternative.
Climb out the window.
And I said, Richie, what happened to him? What happened? He fell into a pile. He fell into a pile of garbage, like just like he is, the garbage that he is. That was 20 years before I had the displeasure of getting to meet him. Stanley. Pig Face and the Baboon, they were wholesalers, and they would take extra tickets from guys like myself in my current state that were, left over, these dumps. But more so, they would try to dig out tickets, whether it was a concert or if Phantom of the Opera or Les Mis was a hot show back then. Mm-hmm. They would try to dig out tickets and wholesale them to a ticket agency.
Yeah. So
I would see them around the garden once in a while, and I didn't really interact with them. My sponsor, my rabbi, Freddie the Weeper, he would say, those guys are the worst. You can't.
Did everybody think this?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so this was consensus.
You can't make a dime with them. Okay. And so Stanley was probably about 5'6". He was, definitely overweight, and his son. I mean, you don't get a nickname Pig Face for nothing, and you don't get a nickname of the Baboon for nothing.
Wow, I just can't get over some of these nicknames. I mean, these are pretty harsh.
I got a few Stanley stories, but we don't have enough time. I'm going to give you one.
Okay.
Most of the time we would get online for, these concerts. Oh, the Who's at Radio City. This is going to be a special show.
And how early? About 12 hours?
12 hours.
Overnight?
Right. 12 hours. Mm-hmm. Freddie the Weeper had an easy dig.
Okay.
What was an easy dig? Well...
And a dig is to have somebody else stand in line for you?
Yes, okay. to go dig out tickets.
Yep.
Freddie says to me, I had gone up the ladder a little bit. So Freddie says to me, can you get like 8 guys together? I got to go get some tickets. There's a new Broadway show opening. What was it? It was Dustin Hoffman. And it turned out to be a bomb. Dustin Hoffman doing The Merchant of Venice. Shakespeare, right?
Why would you cast Dustin Hoffman in that?
Well, he was.
Yeah.
So you got a great name.
Sure. The marquee.
It didn't fit. It's Shakespeare, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So he was miscast. Be that as it may, I said, well, what time do I got to get to? What time did I get to the theater? It's at the same theater. It was playing at the same theater which Hamilton is playing at now. Okay. I don't know what the name of it was back then. Now it's the Richard Rodgers. Maybe it was that. Freddie says, well, if you get there at 6 a.m, it's okay. The tickets go on sale at 10 a.m. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. So I get these other diggers, which were guys I knew from the garden. Got a guy like Mike the Bag, a guy like White pops, not phony pops. White
a lot of pops. Yeah.
Probably baby dumplings.
The great baby dumpling thing you returned to.
and we get up there about 6 a.m. Well, there's 4 people online.
Wow.
And they were, as we would call them, straights, meaning real fans.
Oh, wow.
These people wanted to get the best seats
for Dustin
for
Hoffman.
whatever, because they either were huge Shakespeare fans or probably Dustin Hoffman fans. I mean, and it was a limited engagement. It was like a 6-week run.
Okay.
So there's these 4 people, and we're behind them, and then another couple of straights come. And then there was another little, a couple of other diggers working for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Well, at about 8 a.m, there was maybe a dozen, maybe 16 people. 8 a.m, here comes Pig Face and the baboon.
Okay.
And they're behind us, and I don't say anything. It's not like I'm going to say hello, right. You know? And so it's an interminable wait, and they only have 2 windows. Mm-hmm. So when the box office finally opens and those windows go up, the first 2 people online. Now, if you're standing online all night,
yeah,
and there's 6 weeks of shows, 7 there's
you got to know which one you're going to.
You got to know which one you're going to, and you expect to get really good seats.
Sure.
Well, not on Broadway, because they bury the tickets. So the people that went up to the windows, let's just say, for the sake of putting something, the one person asked for, I need Saturday, November 4th. Please give me the 4 best seats. Mm-hmm. And the guy says, I could hear them. We got orchestra row R.
they just opened this before the internet. Yeah.
So naturally the person goes, well, what about the next Saturday?
Yeah.
Row Q.
And when you say buried, they're just physically buried.
Well, they don't want to sell them. They're going to wholesale the good center seats.
Okay.
Maybe a Wednesday matinee. They make this is just,
okay.
It's just the business practices of these theaters.
Wow.
And it still goes on to this day. But so the people are flustered.
Yeah.
They want good seats. And right. The other window, the same thing's going on.
Yeah.
So the amount of people online where the windows were, it was enough people that Stanley and the baboon were able to be like within the corridor of the lobby.
Sure.
So when the 2 people, they were up there for like, it's going on 5 minutes. The people are frustrated.
Sure, you expect
hey, what about a Friday?
Yeah.
You tell me you got, what about
I expect a front row.
Right,
Right.
You can't get fourth. When can I get nothing on the aisle in the first 10 rows? How about a Thursday? So Stanley, all of a sudden, everyone's quiet. I hear Stanley go, come on, bitch, buy the seats.
Oh, no.
No compunction. Now, the guy in the window, when he hears this, he looks up, he's got like glasses on.
Right.
He looks over the glasses, and I know in his mind, he goes, oh, it's Pig Face.
Wow, even the thing.
He knows them. Who else would say something, this rude?
Yeah.
And
did he teach his kids these? Did he teach Scotty these habits? Or
of course. So
no.
What happened was the people finally took whatever tickets they could get.
Yeah.
The next set, Freddie the Weeper told me, look, they're probably not going to have good seats. Just make sure you get orchestra seats on a Saturday night.
Yep.
Try to get as close to center as possible.
Yep.
I could do that. I could tell Baby Dumplings that. We can do that. So after these people went and my crew's going, there was a couple straights. Well, there was a second time where the baboon's like, come on, you're holding up the line. Come on, damn it.
Wow.
Yeah, and the guys from the window, they didn't even really blink.
Yeah. But they were used to this from these particular people.
Yeah, from these people.
Yeah.
And we got our tickets. And Stanley and the baboon, I could hear. So now we're right outside, and Stanley's at the window, and he's saying let's just say it was a 10 ticket limit.
Yeah.
He's saying to the guy, come on, come on, can you give me another 10? And then give Scotty another 10 too. I'll take care. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you.
Was he greasing him?
Well, his idea of greasing was maybe trying to give the guy $5.
Wow.
And the guy says, like, Stanley, come on. We got people behind you. He's like, yeah,
it's
come on.
His own medicine.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. So I'm outside. Well, Freddie wants nothing to do with these guys.
I don't blame him.
And Stanley comes out. The baboon's still at the window. And Stanley's like, hey, Weeper, these cocksuckers, they wouldn't give me an extra set. And Freddie's like, Freddie was always worried that, he's the Weeper. He's like, Stanley, get away from me. You're gonna bring the heat here. You're gonna bring the heat. And he's like, I'm gonna get back at these guys, Freddie. And they're no good.
We're not breaking the rule.
They're no good. They're no good at this theater. See, they better give Scotty. Not only was he pig face, his breath and his cadence of speech was like in that pig snout style.
Wow. Okay.
So Scotty came out and without an extra set of, not only without an extra set of tickets, but the guy shoved tickets at him for a Thursday night.
Ooh.
Just intentionally.
Yeah.
He was there to get Saturday night tickets.
Right.
And Stanley looks at these tickets and he goes, you're a fucking asshole. And Scotty's like, imagine this is the way they talk to each other. He's like, shut the fuck up, Daddy.
Their dads? Wow.
What is these Thursday night? This is garbage. Take them back. Take them back.
You can't
and the baboon's like, fuck you, Daddy. I stood for 2 hours. So when this is how we exited, with these two lunatics, a father and son.
What a duo.
Screaming and cursing at each other. And Freddie had like a big old Lincoln, and we were able to shove like old 8 people, including baby dumplings, in the car to go get a 6-pack and something to eat, and off to our next. When you made the money doing this,
what do you do with the cash?
The money was gone within seconds.
Okay.
I think I'm
reading between the lines there.
Well, there's nothing.
Yeah.
We could talk, but we're here to talk between the lines.
Sure.
Going back to my initial dig, which I spoke to about with Matt Taven, we didn't speak about it. The first time I was ever involved in a dig, it was for Neil Diamond at Madison Square Garden.
Was that a hot ticket?
It was.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
It was like 1985, 80.
Really?
Yes.
This is well beyond Sweet Caroline.
He had, it was a comeback tour, and I wouldn't have thought, because I knew some of the scalpers, and someone asked me, do you want to make, we want to make like $80 or $100? I'm like, yeah, what I got to do?
Yeah.
Stand online for these tickets. Okay. What time do they go on sale? They go on sale at 10 a.m. What time do I got to get there? 9 o'clock. I said, all right, well, I'll be at the garden at 9 a.m. Thank you. The guy goes, no, not 9 a.m., 9 p.m. So it was a 13-hour, as we discussed earlier, it was a 13-hour wait. The going rate was basically $10 a ticket. So to your point, all the diggers, who is going to stand in freezing cold weather, sweltering weather, in these disgusting conditions where there was fighting on the line, there was other crews of guys and just undesirables. And you would be, no bathrooms and it was rough. So the guys that would do this were desperados. A lot of these, a lot of the greatest diggers, the Mike the Bags, the Billy Blues, the Droopy Owls.
First time I ever heard Droopy Owl. Wow, shout out to Droopy Owl.
Droopy Owl. They were homeless guys that lived in Penn Station, but they were reliable. See, when you do a dig, you can only rob someone once.
Okay.
And at the time, the tickets were only $20, $25. So you had to be able to trust the digger Most diggers didn't get the money in their hands till like about 7 a.m.
Okay.
If you would give the digger the money at 9, 10, 11, midnight.
Oh, they'd be gone, I'd imagine.
Well,
yeah.
Even if their intentions weren't to rob, they've got money burning a hole in their pocket.
Sure.
Crack cocaine was booming, or they're alcoholics. The point is that all the diggers had bad habits. They were homeless guys. And just remember this, everybody. Nobody was born, I got to word this properly. In New York City, there's people born into some very unfortunate situations around the world. There's no doubt about it. But nobody was born home. Very few people were born homeless in Penn Station. Mm-hmm. People drank themselves there. People drugged their way there. People gambled their way there. Mm-hmm. There was a guy, Mike the Bag. He was a nice guy. Park Avenue job. Golf club, house in Long Island, small yacht, drank it all away. Oh. And other guys, gambled at Baby Dumplings, drank it away, gambled it away, didn't care about their kids. So doesn't mean that you're homeless, that you're not reputable.
Right.
And there were even some sort of famous homeless guys, like the great Art Wright.
Oh, Art Wright.
Art Wright. There was a guy, Art Wright. And he was, I don't know, he was probably in his 50s. And he would always be wearing, it was a sport coat that probably came right from the Salvation Army. And it would be stained, but he would always wear a tie. And that would be dirty.
So he had some class.
He did have some class. And he used to carry around this notebook, right? And took me... He was a diminutive, quiet man. And one day I just said, "Hey, Art Wright, what's that notebook?" He goes, "Oh, these are the songs that I wrote." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well, would I know any of them?" And he says, "Well, yeah, there's one you definitely know." And I go, "Well, what is it?" He goes, "Well, you know the song, When a Man Loves a Woman?" I go, "Yeah, by Percy Sledge." He goes, "That's my song, Cary." And he pulls out the notebook and he's showing me the words and he had other songs that he claims to have had written. And we looked up.
We sure did. And and the claim that he made that we've discussed before was that he was from Alabama.
Correct.
And that his last name was Wright. Mm-hmm. We looked this up, and to much of our shock, the writer credited there was a Calvin Lewis and an Andrew Wright from Sheffield, Alabama.
Well, was that him? Was it not him?
And we looked up the photo of Andrew Wright, and there's only one, but it appears to be a visual match.
I believe it was him. He was a stand-up man,
and it was incredible. And I mean, that's had he waited.
A lot of songwriters got fleeced back then, anyway.
Yeah, Tin Pan Alley.
Right?
That's incredible, and I don't doubt that it was him at that point.
So I'm trying to answer your original question, which was, what did you do with the money? When you got the tickets, finally, whether it was that Neil Diamond show, whether it was that Dustin Hoffman play, or whatever you were digging for, most of the diggers took the money and either ran off to start, quote, partying, or whether it was the OTB, the off-track betting, or whether it was going down the block to buy your favorite drug, or whether it was starting to drink. Most of the guys, the money was probably gone by 10 a.m., 10:30 at the latest. Yeah, but that was the facts of life.
Sure. And what would you do with the tickets? I mean, obviously, you would assume that for lack of a better word, sponsor would come back and collect the tickets.
Right. You would. Right. They would be waiting.
Okay.
They would be waiting. As you would exit the, let's just say the Garden, for example. Mm-hmm. There was like a sort of a backdoor entrance near the Hulu Theater where we had our convention.
Yep. Kind of where the athletes park now.
Yes, but where Ring of Honor had their.
Festival of Honor.
Festival of Honor.
Yeah.
There was like a back door which sort of led into a circuitous route to the lobby.
Sure.
And they would lead you in that way. So you would get the tickets at the window, and then you would come out through that main foyer.
Gotcha.
Like you were leaving a show, and from the main box office. So guys like The Weeper, guys like Mike Mountain, guys like Silent Sydney, and then in later years, myself would be waiting, because the digger would want to give you the tickets so he could get their money.
Sure.
And the transaction was done. And Pig Face would be there too, waiting for his little crew.
Oh, Pig Face Stanley. That's of all the folks we've talked about. There's been some highlights and some genuine people that I wish I had met. Is Pig Face still around? Do you know, or is he?
I don't know.
Is he lost to time at this point?
He's lost to time at this point. And when we get to our people in the second series, if you thought that that was the worst, with him at the Lunt Fontanne Theater or the Richard Rogers Theater and making the scene at the box office, that's nothing compared to I have another Pig Face story where he tried to sell 300 lousy. Phantom of the Opera was a hot ticket, but not if you had it, not after it had been open for 2 years and you had Tuesday and Wednesday nights and you had bad seats and mezzanines. I've got a good story, which we'll save for season 2.
That sounds good to me, Cary. And if you're following along at home, we are nearing the conclusion of season 1. We have 2 more episodes to go. We're going to talk about Louisiana, which is the start of your ticket hustling career. And as you notice with this, we're jumping topic to topic. But, at some point, maybe we'll create a list where you could follow along chronologically if you want. And but it's a little bit
seems to work better this way.
It does.
Maybe to the average person it doesn't, but it would be very hard to do these in chronological order.
And I think it would get boring.
Yeah.
I think it would. So we appreciate you following us along, but we're going to take you to Cary's ticket hustling starts in, it was Baton Rouge? It
was actually started in New Orleans, and then I went to, then I was forced to go to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, forced being the operative word.
I was forced.
So we're going to take a look at that. And then episode 10, that's going to be no holds barred. If we go over an hour, so be it. We're going to top to bottom, Madison Square Garden, your journey, your fandom, and then finally Ring of Honor getting there. We were in the locker room together before the event, after the event. Just a magical night with Ring of Honor, April the 6th.
No one can ever take that away from us.
And nor should they try. What an amazing event that was. You were ringside the whole night. I was calling that with Colt Caprice and Kevin Kelly. We had a beautiful time that night. So we thank you, everyone, for listening. Episode 8. Please rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. There's special incentives, including bonus episodes, including ways that we will reach out to you if you let us know you're listening. And be sure to interact with Cary at ROH Cary, myself at Ian Riccaboni. For Cary Silkin, I'm Ian Riccaboni. Happy wrestling, everybody. We'll see you next time in Louisiana for episode 9.
We hail you for listening to Last Stop Penn Station podcast. Rate, review, like, subscribe, and share on your favorite platform. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or at laststoppennstation.com.